So when you were growing up during your adolescent period, did you understand that which gender you are from, and which whether you're male or female? Because when you're going to the kitchen, it's like a set thing, na. So when did you kind of figure out?
Yeah, so I think my own experience of, being a young boy, being born in a male body, wasn't very strong. Like I didn't strongly feel I'm a male born person, or I'm male, so I have to behave this way. It wasn't very strong for me. I don't know how it is for other boys. And also, I felt if I reflect on it now, I feel it's maybe a feminine quality. I was able to be around older people a lot. I couldn't relate to my age group as much. I'd like to sit around and listen to conversations. I wasn't much of a let's go out and play. I mean, I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed playing when kids would get together in a group. But I wasn't like this male camaraderie kind of thing, like being in a sports team and playing cricket and stuff like that. I never found it odd, and it also didn't really like suddenly there wasn't this realization that I'm different in terms of how I perceive my gender. But slowly I started seeing boys around me in school. I went to an all boys school, and there were there were boys for who mannerisms were, it showed in their mannerisms, So what you would call effeminate men, walking a little bit more gracefully, or having a shriller voice and not, voice not breaking too early, taking a long time to break or never breaking. So all these signs in boys cause a lot of trauma for both the ones who have this mannerism, and it causes so much chaos around them all the time, right? So there's bullying, or there's always some joke, or there's ridicule, and it's so visible. So for me, it was invisible, but I wasn't sure what this was, what this difference was, and I wasn't too clear whether this was me feeling like a woman or feeling like a girl. It didn't feel like that either, but I did feel that I was a little more softer, feminine, and I could sit and listen to people for hours, which people of my age group couldn't do. Boys of my age group wouldn't do, and I liked listening to stories of people and their lives, and so there was a certain kind of maturity for that age, maybe, which I dubbed feminine. And then I saw these boys around me who were going through so much, who were different in their mannerisms, and maybe a couple of times I did feel fear. So I started then looking for signs to see if anybody can tell if I am different. It never really happened that way for me, but I could relate to these boys a lot more, because I felt like there was something different that they were going through that maybe the larger group of boys in society don't go through, or maybe they hide it from themselves, or they don't express it the way they do. And then here I was somewhere in the middle between these two extremes of what could manifest in a young person, a young male.
But also consider, you said that you understood the feminine qualities and you could sit and listen for hours. Women, we are very empathetic, not sympathetic, but empathetic. You feel from within. Did you also feel the same way?
Yeah, one of the things I remember would happen very often in this feeling thing was, if somebody said something really harsh, I would just want to cry, like it would just well up in my heart, but I would hold it back also. It wasn't something I could do in front of everybody, but I would rush off and I would be able to cry in the bathroom, for example, like cry. And it was just like this outpouring of emotion, and then it was just clear. So there was some way to, that I had allowed myself to express myself without blocking it, though I still was blocking it in front of people. Like there was some kind of pride to not cry in a group, but I did allow myself to cry, and I felt like that kept my heart open in some ways, and I could feel for others. I slowly started feeling for a lot of things that, of course, after a point got a little too much, because you'd feel for the stray dog, and somebody would come and tease it, and then you'd feel so much for it, and you'd feel so much anger and rage and empathy and everything together. So I had to start separating all that, and I think it happens a lot with, both boys and girls, but we don't talk about it a lot. Like in our society, we don't really talk to children. We don't really try to allow them process the emotions. But everybody can feel, I feel, whether you're a boy or a girl. It's just
The society tells boys that don't don't cry like a girl.
yeah.
So was it also because of that you held your emotions in your eyes and went to the bathroom and then cried?
Surprisingly, I was never told that, but maybe I sensed it. But it wasn't because if I cried, I would be like a girl. I would have been proud because at that point, anything like an affirmation that, oh, there's something feminine like in you, gave me a sense of pride and power. Like I felt good about it. But it was more about that helplessness. Like I didn't want to feel helpless by crying, and I didn't associate it really with being a girl, being girly or something.
But was it only with respect to emotions, or used to do some activities or acts that made you feel that you're a woman? Did you dress up?
Yeah, I do have these memories of wanting to dress up as a girl. I would love these flowy things. So I'd love the dupatta or the sari and just run around with it and then wrap myself around it. Nobody in my household really said anything about it. In fact, in the South, we have this annual kind of tradition in some communities where the girls in the house, they dress up, right, in a sari, like young girls as well, even 2 or 3 or 4-year-olds would be dressed up in a sari, and they'd wear this jewelry, and very traditional jewelry that around the waist, and then their hair would be kind of sewed on to this wig of sorts. It was like a jasmine bouquet, what we call what is it called, Moggu jade. In Kannada it's called Moggu jade, which basically Moggu is like a bud, jasmine bud. Jade is a plait. So but it's stitched together, and you bring it, and then you place a wig if the girl doesn't have long hair, and you kind of sew it on, and it stays like on the head, and it comes right up to the to your knees. And for me, it was a very normal thing to want that for myself. So they would order 2 things in my house, one for my sister and one for me. And I had no issues with, and nobody in my family did really have that problem. But I had an uncle visiting with a cousin, and of course it wasn't a tradition in Tamil Nadu, and we were Tamilians, but I was living in Karnataka. So when cousins visited, they found this unusual, and girls, they wanted to also wear this costume and dress up along with my sister. So I remember 3 of us: my older cousin, who's a girl, myself, and my younger sister. We were all dressed, and we had to be paraded to the studio to be photographed. And this walk from my place to the studio, and it was a Sunday or something, so we didn't find a studio that was open. So we were searching, and this was all by foot. This uncle of mine had this. He had this energy about him. He never really said anything, which kind of affected me somehow. Like there was this kind of. He was almost like there was a lot of dialogue in his head. Why is this boy doing this? Why is he allowed to do this? He shouldn't be. And this was nothing that he said. It was all something that I could sense in the way he responded, or the monosyllabic things that he uttered, or the fact that we couldn't find a studio and he was happy about it. And for the first time, I didn't feel very comfortable in those clothes. And I feel after that, I felt that maybe the phase was also over. I didn't really have that urge to dress up again. But maybe this also affected me. Like I felt somewhere that I shouldn't do this. So that shouldn't is normally not told to you. It comes in different ways, So this is one thing I strongly remember. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't feel anything wrong with this activity, and this was the first time there was a judgment around me. So,
An unsaid judgment, and you did not like it.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it made me feel bad that day, but I don't know if that is the reason why I stopped it. I'm not sure. I also feel it was a phase, and it just was very normal to go through and to pass through and come out on the other side.
And when was this? How
11,
old?
12.
11, 12.
11, yeah, 10, 11 actually.
Do you still meet that uncle?
Yeah, of course.
And he's so not happy now?
I don't think, I mean, I have never heard him, I mean, it wasn't something that stayed with him and then he started treating me strangely, or there was this antagonistic behavior. It was just that once.
But when you said that at that age.
But you know what? I'm sorry. I feel like this has got something to do with when I see men respond like this. Now I feel it's their own discomfort. There's something happening in them. It's not about judging you, but there's something there that's making them feel very uncomfortable about the masculinity that they have or they want to wear on their sleeve. It's something about themselves more than who they're judging, really. This is what I
So
feel.
you are saying that they are probably insecure.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
They're fearful. There's a lot of fear. There's this fear of what this is reminding them. Like what I don't know how to explain it. It's like a mirror of some sort. Like what you can be or what could suddenly affect you and touch your masculinity and spoil it, or something of that sort. It's like a bizarre fear, distorted fear.